And brownies.
All right.
I like turtles.
Hello. We should be, I believe we are live. Let me get everything set up here. How's it going, everybody? MidnightRangeTM here. Thanks for visiting. While y'all have been active, yeah, there's been a lot of chats out there tonight. We should. Nope. Somebody wasn't muted. That's cool. Greg, I saw you just sent me a text, said you can't get video to work. Down at the bottom there's a little microphone, and then to the right of that, there's a little camera. And then it's the first time you've done this, so if you click on it and nothing happens, I don't really know what to tell you. It's possible that maybe we're just not going to have video for you tonight. It's been known to happen. We do have some people that have trouble with video.
Yeah, that's exactly what's happening. It keeps saying failed to get camera.
Okay. If you click the three dots at the bottom right there, beside the little eye in a circle, you can go into there and click settings, and you might be able to figure out what it is. There's a camera section in there. So take a look. Maybe you can get it figured out.
Okay.
No big deal. I mean,
otherwise, if you're running a Chrome-based browser or Firefox, it might have a little pop-up in the browser itself saying, do you want to allow Chrome or do you want to allow Firefox access to your camera / microphone?
I believe he's running Netscape.
I thought Microsoft strangled them out like 20 years ago.
No, if you can figure it out, but it's not that big of a deal.
That was
okay.
And I was over sarcasming your sarcasm, so.
We are live. We've got Greg here with Cosaint Arms. Met Greg at the Eastern Sports and Outdoors show here a couple weeks ago. Just kind of stumbled over to his booth to check out some cool 1911s and got in a really fun conversation, a really cool conversation about what they're doing and how they're doing it. So he was good enough to come on the show, which I'm really excited about. We tried to do some promotion for the show, threw it on Instagram, and had some of these guys do some plugs for me. So hopefully we'll have a good crowd. What we're going to do is I'm going to run through a series of questions, and then just to try and cover all the bases. And then after I'm through, guys in the panel, if you have any questions, or Greg, if I missed anything that you want to interject with, feel free to jump in there. And we'll also go to the chat over there on the live chat. So, guys, if you could help me keep an eye on the live chat, if there's anything that I miss, let me know. There you go. Cool. Now we got you. Awesome.
All right.
Perfect.
I don't know what I did. I just got hit with things.
Well, I'll tell you what. That's
randomly hit buttons.
That's not unusual for me either. That's not unusual.
It's just
yeah. That happens a lot.
The next thing I was going to do was just reboot. That's the best IT advice I got. So,
if you have a question out in the chat, obviously just tag me, MidnightRangeTM. I will, and it'll pop up in red, so that way I will see it, or one of the other guys hopefully will catch it if I would miss it. So, let's get to it. The wife out there says, happy belated Valentine's Day. Yeah, happy Valentine's Day for everybody. Hopefully everybody had a good weekend. I know mine was brutal. I can't say mine was good.
Slow nights? Yeah.
Saturday was miserable, and I was short a dishwasher and a cook on Saturday. So I was in such a good mood. I was such a sweetheart at work on Saturday. It was fantastic. Yeah.
You seemed a little ticked off in the chat on the Snob show.
Oh yeah, I wasn't happy. That was the first thing I've said to anybody that night. That wasn't working there. So yeah, I had to let one rip. It was not so happy. So, like I said, Greg is with a company called Cosaint Arms. Greg, what are you guys producing? What are you guys doing down there?
So we make a modular 1911. So on my side, I actually have some show and tell. You can see it.
Mhm.
See, it's got a metal frame with a polymer grip. As we say, this is like most of the competition guns that are made from the late 80s, early 90s on. It's a modular gun that lab testing has shown that it reduces muzzle flip because energy doesn't get into the full frame of a 1911. It just goes straight back. So when that happens is the muzzle stays more level, more stable. And the best part about it is when you're shooting multiple rounds rapidly, very fast succession of shots. That makes a tremendous difference in your accuracy. And when we used to make these in my old company, it was like, this doesn't need to be a 5-inch, 6-inch competition gun. It needs to be a carry gun. If anything, it needs to, because those competition guns have that big weight on the end. They're full of steel. And so whatever you put in them, they cycle great. They perform very well. But as you shrink that down, take weight out, it should get squirrely, but not with this design. So my thought all along was it needed to be a carry gun. That's what we decided to do, is let's make a 3.5-inch carry gun, officer length grip, and it performs exactly the way the competition guns did.
Very cool.
I have a question.
One of the things that you have on your logo too, and on the website is the meaning of Cosaint Arms. What's the meaning behind the term Cosaint?
Yeah, so I'm telling you, if any of you have been around trying to trademark or protect a name, it's brutal. And in guns and knives, the trademark office looks at knives when you're looking for a gun name, and in knives they look at gun names. They think they're too close, so they won't allow. We looked at our corporate name is Agile Ventures. We wanted to use agile, being quick, light on our feet, fast to react to the market. Mm-hmm. And Kershaw had a name of a knife called Agile that they protected. So boom, that did away with our corporate name. So we started looking, and I was reading a book about a historic figure in Ireland, came over to the U.S., and I started to think, I always use Latin and Greek and all these languages that I thought I could protect because they weren't English. And so I looked into Gaelic and started to just put in words, and my first couple of words were defend, protect, and Cosaint came up as being the meaning of Cosaint in Gaelic is defend, protect, defend and or protect. Mm-hmm. And I thought, oh my gosh, this is exactly what we want to make, because there are other products we want to make, and they're all around defend and protect. So it was worth a year of looking for a name to come up to finally hit on something that we could protect and that actually meant what we wanted to do.
Yeah, no, it's perfect. It's a great name. Ed, you had something you wanted to say quick?
Yeah, with that style of frame, that receiver, it's very, like you said, a very competitive receiver, STI, Infinity,
right,
and so on, to use them. I've heard stories that like people that have to get the magazines tuned. Like they get them and they have issues with the magazines, and they have to get, like from STI, they have to get them tuned, if you will. Are you experiencing these similar issues with?
No, because we don't do a double stack. We only do single stack, and that is inherent in the double stack magazine. And even when STI created all new magazines, spent the money to have them made from scratch, the difficult problem with STI was they let it go too long, where they had really bad magazines because they made them in house with 2 weld marks. And so they were never consistent. And so they would tweak them as they went out. And so in that case, they had to be tweaked for every gun. And in a lot of cases, they weren't. So then the customer would get it. They'd send them back in. And so then about 2 years ago, they spent the money to have all new mags made, which meant it only had 1 weld seam, very much better. But the problem was everybody's gun and mags were kind of matched up together. So when they put out these brand new mags that were really good mags, they didn't work with the guns the way that the other mags did. So what we did is, because we're using a single stack, we have tried Wilson, Mekgar, Checkmate mags. I have some Kimber mags. I mean, right now we're getting in some Chip McCormick mags. It is unbelievable the variety that we've put through them, And, a few don't work, but a lot of times that had to do with our slide stop. It had to do with some adjustments we had to make. But in general, that a stock mag worked. So, that's the beauty of a single stack.
Have you ever looked into Trip Research mags? I'm a big fan of theirs. I work with them.
Yeah, totally. Trip was he's the guy who started STI. The guy guy's like a mad genius. And we decided to go with Chip McCormick first, depending on how his mags work, because he has a really good technology for a 9mm. He pushes that round up as it hits the ramp, and I really want to try that. That's an inherent problem with 9mm and 1911s. And I just would, if that reduced the possibility of a misfeed, I'm all for it. Trip does make a great magazine, but he's kind of my next one down the line.
I believe you're talking about Virgil from Trip Research.
Right. Virgil. So when I was
awesome.
When I was at the STI, the guy's a genius, and he did. To this day, they have him do all of their chroming because he's the best guy in the industry. He knows that technology. Again, he came to us at STI to try and make new mags, and we chose not to use him. And yet, the guy's the best guy in the industry on mags.
Right on, man. Thank you for your input.
Cool.
Yeah.
All right. Yep. So you talked about, with me a little bit when we met, but what's your facility like? What's it like where you're building the guns? I know you're not a huge, production. It's very kind of boutique, I guess, a little bit. So what's it like there?
When I was looking for a place to land, because you have to have a place to get an FFL. You can't use your home. You can't use a P.O. box. You have to have the place you're going to make that, because we're in 07. And so the guy who was doing my engineering, he was building a building, a 7,500 square foot building, because he wanted to put his engineering firm in there. He does 3D printing. He had a lab for his 3D printing, but he had 4,500 square feet of manufacturing space in the back. And he kept saying to me, if you can't find something, why don't you come locate with me? So in the end, there was a lot of delay, but every place I tried to rent, I had to spend a ton of money with the power company to bring the power into any rental place I wanted for machinery. And yet Bill was my engineer. His building was going to be loaded with power once it was built. So in the end, I went ahead and waited for him from December till May. Then I moved in with him, and it's a fantastic. It really is nicer than we deserve. But he has 4,500 square feet in the back, and so we rent 2,200 of it, 2,250, half of the back, and we took 2 offices in the front. And then he decided he would just leave it be. So he put his car in there. He put a refurb deal that he's doing, another car. And because he said, no, I'm more than good to wait till you're ready to grow, and then I'll let you move into that space. So he didn't go look for other tenants, which was fantastic for us. And so we're in like I say, Flat Rock, North Carolina. It's only about 20 minutes from the South Carolina border, just south of Asheville, and really nice spot. We just, with the screw machine we put in, we're now out of power. So we're going to have to call the power company in, turn around and add another, I think, 400 to 600 amps. But that's a good problem to have. If you got to add power, it means more equipment's coming.
Well, I'll say, I've handled the guns, so I think your guns deserve a good facility. You're not slamming together, cheap something or others here. They deserve a nice spot to be born in.
So if I could ask you a question on that, okay?
Mm-hmm.
So I was with the people that some old executives, old owners that I worked with, and they talked about Nighthawk, and they were very proud of the fact that Nighthawk was in industrial or storage units. Basically, you go from storage unit to storage unit, and finishings here and assemblies here, and you just kind of walk there. They open up the garage doors and they move it down. And these, owners or private equity guys were very proud of the fact that they were, super frugal like that they could build this gun. And so I talked to somebody at the Pennsylvania show who said, I can't even believe these guys. I mean, they were completely disgusted that they're paying $4,000 for a gun, and it was wrong. It didn't work when they got it, and it's because they're in this facility. So there's two thoughts there. Somebody's frugal and they put all their money into the guns, not necessarily facility. And then there's other thoughts. A nice facility breeds a better product. Better, more employees, pride in workmanship, pride where they work.
Yeah.
And I just love to have input from everybody else. What do you think?
There's something to be said for building, not just building a product, but building a team behind the product too, and almost treating that team like a family. And I know you have a really small, I don't know if I have this as a question or not. I think I do. I know your employees you have such a small group of employees. I mean, it's probably like a family. You know what I mean? Yeah. So sure. That's really important, because those are the guys you're going to trust. Those are guys you're going to trust, and everybody says, oh, I got a Monday gun or I got a Friday gun because it didn't work. There was something out of spec. It's like, oh, they must have built this one on Friday. If you have employees that are your family that you treat like family and they see you as family, they're not going to let any of them Monday, Friday guns go out of the shop. And I think that's important.
Yeah, I do too. Yeah. I mean, I think work environment does add to the quality of the product, and whether that's how you treat people or just the facilities themselves. So
yeah. So what, I know you touched on it a little bit, but what's your history in the gun industry? Where are you coming from?
So, okay, this could be a long one or a short one, so you just got to cut me off, okay?
It doesn't have to be long. It's just, I know people are going to be curious to see what your background.
We got all night.
Yeah, so I've been in the industry. So when I first got out of college, I went to work for Schlage Law Company, a door hardware company. Yeah. It was a part of Ingersoll Rand. Mm-hmm. And I worked there for 7 years, was a sales rep, and then became a regional manager. And then I got a job with Buck Knives. It was kind of a fluke deal. They were looking for a hardware sales manager. I got their sporting goods instead. So now I'm introduced to the sporting goods outdoor market through Buck Knives. And that was in 1989. So from 1989 until now, I've been in or around shooting sports through knives or guns or knives again. And so I went from Buck Knives to Blunt, which some of you might not remember, but Blunt is now what is Vista. Blunt was after they bought Federal, about a $250 million division of Blunt International. And then Lehman Brothers sold it to, who was it at the time? ATK. And then ATK turned it into a $2 billion corporation and changed the name to Vista. So today that's everything from, well, Savage just got sold, but I mean, they've got all kinds of brands underneath them. And I went there and was a cog, and the politics got to be so crazy that I got an opportunity to go with Benchmade when he was just kind of coming out of deciding how to be a real company, wanted sales and marketing help. So I went to Benchmade and had a great run, 14 years of being with Benchmade, and ended up being the president there, was in operations, sales and marketing. I pretty much did almost everything. And then because of that, I got recruited to run Benelli USA for the Beretta Holdings family. And that was a great experience, learned a lot. And, but in the end, it was best that I not stay there. And then again, got recruited and the ability to move to STI. And now I get to be in the handgun business. So I went from premium knives to premium guns to now premium handguns. And then private equity came in and bought out the ESOP. Employees took their price. And once again, they wanted to change, bring on all their own people. And so then I kind of decided what I want to do and ended up getting connected with Microtech. And of everywhere I worked, the absolute craziest place on earth. And so that's how I got to Asheville. And once I got to Asheville, it was and the experience with Microtech, it was the best thing to do is let's go start our own thing. because I always knew it when I was at STI that single stack carry gun that wasn't a hand fit, but a production fit, a really quality production fit gun, had a real niche. A gun didn't have to be $2,000 to $4,000. It could be $1,000 to $1,500, and it could be a badass gun, look great, function right. You just didn't need to put all that money into it, you know. And our typical thing was to, you know, our normal, it'd be $1,500. And you say, well, can I get these different sights? Okay, that's $2,000. I mean, can I get a, you know, 4 1/4 versus 3 1/2? Oh yeah, that's another $500. I mean, it's like the costs are negligible because there was a difference. Boom, the price just went up substantially. So, and that's everywhere. That could be in knives, it could be in shotguns. You know, that's just the mentality. And I've always thought, you know, if it doesn't cost us more, why do you charge more? You know,
right? Yeah. You personally, how and when did you get into guns? What was your first gun? What got you into shooting?
So I didn't grow up with shooting. My dad was born and raised in LA and moved around a lot and nowhere close to being near guns. And so when I got to blunt after buck knives, I get to blunt. I lived in Lewiston, Idaho. Well, those guys, they had 2 and 3 gun safes each. I mean, they were just like, who could have the most guns? And so in the first like 3 or 4 months, they're persuading me, oh no, you don't understand. We go by the gun of the month club here. We get all guns at industry price, and you just need to start acquiring guns. And they all told me how to get them by my wife, Kim. And, you know, and I've got 2, you know, I'm just building my family, so it's totally different for me. Well, my wife got with them, and they persuaded her that my first gun needed to be a shotgun. And so they persuaded her that she should buy me a 1187 Remington shotgun. And so that because there was a lot of bird hunting in Lewiston, Idaho, and up the Snake River, and then the next gun, I think it was a 270, you know, rifle, and then I got a varmint gun, and but I really didn't, you know, I think I got a 22, and I think I had a 38 when I was there, but after that I didn't get many guns until really got to STI. Then I got into 1911s, and you know, it was
rabbit hole opened up.
Yeah.
If you carry, what do you carry and how do you carry it?
So I that's a great question, and you know, I carry a bit, but I'm really it really is I want my gun. I want our gun to be my carry gun, and the problem is every time I go to do it, I sell it. You know, it becomes one of the guns that turn around and sell. So there's like 2 guns we've got right now that I love the finishing. We did some really cool details on it, and it's what I'd really like to do is have gun made with the highlights being our Cosaint green, and that'd be awesome. Cerakote has a green that's exactly our color, and so I want to build something so when I pull it out, it's very obvious it's our gun, and so we're really working on it right now is to try and do that. The guys in the shop all want kind of their gun. I'm trying to get them to have one, so we're all carrying our gun before, you know, we're carrying somebody else's. That's
awesome. I mean, you promote. It's a great promotion for your company to actually be able to walk around with your product. That's awesome.
Yeah,
that's really cool.
Yeah.
Are you personally, or is the company a member of or sponsor any 2A organizations? You know, what organizations do you deal with as a company or a person? So I'm a lifetime member of NRA. When NRA, and I really didn't deal with anybody else. I pretty much put all my support by NRA. But when they hit the speed bump earlier this year, I jumped in the Second Amendment. And Gun Owners of America. I mean, those 2, I pretty much just started to throw some support towards them. My 2 guys are both lifetime members of NRA, and I little bummed that I kind of started to spread it out a little bit because I learned a lot more about the issues that were happening at NRA, and they're not as dysfunctional as the press wants to let them think they are. There's a lot of stuff that's going to come out over the next probably 12 months, and they've got Wayne LaPierre's got things
going there. I mean, he is very well connected. And it was kind of like what's happening with President Trump, where there was just some insiders who just thought, no, it's time for you to go. And so they, instead of facing him straight on, there was a lot of crap that was going on underneath the surface. And my hope is that they can get all that behind them before this election starts, so that we can, get them back to what they're there for, and that's to protect our Second Amendment rights and make sure that politicians understand that's their role.
My next question we kind of answered a little bit, so I'm going to switch it up. And it was, why did you open up your own company and stuff like that? But I think you already answered that. And it was, why do you change the 1911? I think you already answered that. But do you have guys that come up to you at a show or something and look at one of your pistols and say, why did you change it? It ain't broke. Why'd you try and fix it? 2 world wars. That won 2 world wars. Why are you messing with the 1911? What do you say to a guy like that?
Stopping power.
Yeah, great point. And I mean, I had one when I was in the Greenville show where the guy just would not know. I actually have a 1911 there to show the differences. And he goes, no, I like that one. I go, yeah, then you should buy another one of those. You should buy another one of those, just like the other 10 guns you have. The difference is, if you bought ours, you'd have a different gun than the 10 guns you have. So the beauty is that, and that's why that's such a great platform, is because people are passionate about it. They love it. They love that trigger pull. That trigger pull is like it. Yeah. And they're used to how the safeties work. I mean, they're all in. And if that's the case, all we want to do is say, this is just another one that you should have. You've got 5 1911s. Why don't have a 6 that actually shoots flat, fun? Boom, you're actually more accurate with ours. If you, like, I challenged the guy and I said, you go get your best gun. If it's a 3.5 or a 4 1/4, I've got a comparable gun. I'll put my gun in your hand, and if you shoot them at the exact same time, I will guarantee you our gun, you'll be more accurate. Mm-hmm. Because the muzzle doesn't move as much. It doesn't matter how much you've trained. It doesn't matter how accurate you are. If the muzzle doesn't move as much, you're gonna be more accurate. And it's nothing against them. It's nothing against the guns that they own. Those are fine weapons. I mean, they're absolutely great guns. It's just ours is different. And because of the way it's designed, it makes you shoot better. So I totally get it. Again, the comment, I've had that in postings, oh my God, John Browning's turning in his grave for what you've done to the 1911. So it's like, yeah, but I was totally prepared for that. I mean, we had a little bit of that at STI, but again, there's always going to be that, Sure. And it's like, then, you know what? You probably don't like Glocks, but there's millions of people who love a Glock.
Yeah.
There's nothing wrong with that,
Now this is the interview I'm doing here is focused. It's not, I didn't want it to focus just on the guns. I wanted it to focus on you, and I wanted to focus on the company too. Because I think that's really important to consumers nowadays. So, some of the questions are going to be like this one is, why should a consumer trust Cosaint Arms? Why should they trust you? Small upstart.
Yeah, great point. And I really have to rely on my history. I have to rely on the fact that I'm with Buck Knives. Blunt's not as much, but Benchmade Knife Company, Benelli USA, STI, maybe not as much from a service standpoint. These are all premium brands. And in my tenure at each place, we upped the performance in our quality and in our warranty repair, our customer service. In every single one, that was a focus. And if anybody researches my background, they'll find that in those years, things got better. So the other thing is that I would say right now, this little venture of ours is our retirement fund. We had money to just go up to the mountains of Asheville and just retire. And we took that and we put it into this company. So if you end up saying, this is my wife and my business and our retirement and for my family, then no, we're not going to ship a bad gun. And if something happens, the reason I go consumer direct so that I know you. If you have a problem, you know me. If I go through dealers, then you could kind of hide and go, well, talk to the dealer, which a lot of shooting sports does. Talk to the dealer. The dealer has to deal with issues. I don't want to do that. If there's any problem or anything good, I'd like to hear about it. So everywhere we've been, I can't change somebody's mind. If they just don't trust us, then give it more time. Wait a year. Don't buy it now. I also will guarantee every gun we ship out. If you don't like this, if this is not what we said it was, ship it back. We'll credit everything on your credit card. There's just no reason. I want this to be here for a long time. I love this business. So the only way to do that is to build a good product and back it with solid service. It's not to make 100,000 units a year. That's not the goal.
Excellent. Now, talking about the guns, I know we talked about this a little bit at the show, but what on the guns is made in-house versus outsourced?
So the guns, we make slides, frames. We make the guide rods now. We have a screw machine that we're making the guide rods. We make the grip safety, and we make the grip safety because of the way the show lines work. So if I hold it up, just the way that this grip safety matches the frame, and the fact we make the frame, the grip safety, and the slide, all of that by us doing it, oh my gosh, it cuts down on production, on the finished work afterwards like crazy. The other place I've worked, all of that is bought out. Bought out a house. They only made the slide and the frame. You had to fit everything else. So that what I'm trying to do is use our production capabilities to make a better product right off the machine, so that our time goes into the slide fit and the trigger pull. So that, the two critical parts of this gun. And
for sure.
So we source the sights right now. We source the barrel. We do source the fire control system from Cylinder and Slide. And we do that because it's flawless. Every single system we get, we buy it as a kit. It goes in the gun as a kit. It is perfect every single time. So all we do is really manage the weight, the trigger, the take up. And so I just have a ton of confidence in them. And to spend the kind of money we would need to spend for a wire EDM, it's not worth it. I'd rather put the money into the other things first.
Right. So how long from the original idea, let's say you at the time when you decided you were going to do this, how long did it take you till you got a gun that you were willing to sell for profit?
Okay.
How long did it take?
So I left Microtech in March of 17, and then he had to, we had a relationship for another 6 months. I was in a non-compete till September of 17. And all that time I did some things in the background determining, is this what we want to do, or do I want to go get another job? So about the fall of 17, I actually bought I'd had some engineering work done on a grip. And then I bought 2 Arms Core 3.5-inch 1911s. And the reason I did that is that I could take 2 exactly the same 1911s and I could shoot them. They shot comparably. So then what I did is I had a gunsmith in central North Carolina cut the frame to match what I thought my frame should look like with a prototype grip. Because when I get all that together, I didn't change anything. I put a grip on, I put the same grip safety in it, I put the same sear spring in it, the same trigger, everything went back onto that gun, same fire control system. So what I could do then is say, the guns are weighted the same, everything's the same, except this one has a metal frame and this one has a metal frame with a polymer grip. So there was my prototype. When I could get that built, I didn't have to do much adjusting because I knew the upper ends would, the top ends worked. And that was probably, by the time I got that done, it was probably October, November of 17, December. We shot it. It was like, wow. So we had some people shoot it. What do you think? Do you feel it? And there was enough difference that we go, okay, we got to keep going. Then it took another year so then I go into 18. And so all of 18, first half of 18, I'm working to get my FFL. I'm doing more prototyping. I hired a gunsmith in March. And because I couldn't get in a building, he stayed in Tennessee and kept working in shop. So he'd come over, I'd give him parts, we'd make up prototypes, he'd go home, come back, we'd shoot them together. No, we got to change this. We did that until probably July when I bought the equipment. Then I got the programmer machinist, Wesley, that we have. Then Joel moved over and became full-time in July of 18. No, we're in 20 now. So so this was 19. So it's almost a year later. We've gone through prototyping and finding a place to house ourselves, getting our FFL. All told, to answer your question, it's easily a year and a half. All the prototyping, the printing, the building parts. It took us 5 months of actually machining parts to get them right. Because it's one thing to buy parts. It's another one to machine them to a print that all matches, which none of that I thought was going to happen. I thought it was going to be, oh yeah, we'll just make some parts. So I got a great machinist and he wanted to test and prototype how he's going to do it for volume. So I'm telling you, if we're in February of 20, it was easily a year and a half, almost 2 years. So we really started making we made good guns in October, November, December, and we're taking them out, shooting them with people, getting feedback. But even to this day, I did a shoot last week. Somebody gave me a great suggestion. I mean, a really good improvement. And so we're pretty much committed to it's always going to happen. We're going to keep migrating. And then we've got, we think, good rev control. So if we change something, we're documenting it. But that's the other reason, if I'm dealing with all the consumers, if I deal with every buyer and we have an improvement or something that was worked better, boom, we know everybody. We can call them and go, hey, this improvement impacts you. Can we send this to you? Will you send your gun in? We'll update it. I mean, there's just no reason not to do that if it made it a better gun or it will impact their performance. So it was so much longer than I thought it would be. But a lot of it had to do with getting my FFL and getting a building, and that all happened, last year. I thought I'd be in December of 18, be in a building making guns by January, but not having the building and that taken till May. That was just an unforeseen delay that killed me.
Yeah. So, and you talked about this a little bit, but I mean, just in a little quick, how do you guys test functionality? I mean, is it as simple as just throwing it in people's hands and giving them a pile of ammo and just letting them have at it? Or is there a method to the madness?
No. So I went out for a long time. We'd make guns, and then about, a couple of days, then I'd gather them and I'd go to the local range. I'd do a bunch of shooting. I'd come back, report. We'd meet with the gunsmith. Okay, here's what we're doing. Here's what we're finding. He'd go about every other time. Okay, we'd wait, come back, make changes. And it was just taking too long. So then I bought a gunsmith bullet trap that we could put right in our shop, a Savage snail. And that was a game changer because now it's out right on the other side of gunsmithing, right in between finishing. So if we had an issue, we'd get up, run a couple mags through, and I'd shoot it because I'm a terrible shot. He's a really good shot. And so, if it was functioning issues, it might be because I'm not gripping it right or I'm not doing something right. And so if it worked for me, right, then it was like, okay, we're good to go because I'm more indicative of every shooter. He's a good shooter. He's been shooting for years, And
that
so he always got up.
that kind of brings, sorry.
Say again.
Sorry, go ahead. I was going to say that kind of brings up a quick question here too: is do you intentionally try and cause malfunctions? Do you intentionally limp wrist it? Do you intentionally, I don't know what else you might do, but is that something that you guys think about? Do you say, hey, let's see if we can shoot this thing poorly and still have it cycle, reliably?
That's my job. And so,
Right.
like seriously, because I would tell you right now that I'm not a long time gun guy. I just saw a niche and the business side of it and think I just need to get some good help here. I know where we can go, but I need help to do this. So that's where Joel, the gunsmith, comes in. That's where Wesley, the machinist programmer, comes in. And then we've sought expert gunsmithing outside the building to give us input. But to answer your question, yes, and we fiddle a lot with springs, and we've migrated things up and down because there aren't a lot of prints on a 9mm. There are prints everywhere you want to go. There are books on the 45 caliber 1911. I mean, you can find anything you want, but as soon as you move beyond the 45, especially the 9, things change. And so we were like just totally rewriting it on what we had to do. We would use things that we thought were correct. We have 5 different guns in house that we would measure and take from competition, what's going on with their 9mm that is impacting ours. So a lot of it is we were writing it right from the beginning, but now we've been through so much pain and so many, errors in what we did. That's what makes us totally confident. We're beyond anything that we're going to see. We just don't see failures out there because we shot so much of it. We put so many rounds through, especially the grips that we have. And the design is not so unique that it's a brand new gun. Conceptually, it is exactly like a bunch of other guns on the market. It's just, this is a niche. It's smaller. So we have some issues with making sure our springs are right and it functions correctly, and the weight of our slide. That's what we fiddled with. I can't hear you.
Midnight, you're muted. Unmute
Okay.
yourself.
Unmute.
When you come on your shows, you're supposed to unmute yourself. The host isn't supposed to do that.
My fault. Sorry.
That's okay. How are you guys planning on promoting and selling the guns? I know we talked about demos, possibly rentals. And are you planning on selling at storefronts too? Like, in the pre-chat snob, or we were talking about Tulsa at in Wanamaker and stuff like that. Are you planning on? How are you planning to get these guns in people's hands?
The big thing is right now I've really wanted to be demos, and I want to be one-on-ones. I love these shows because we get great feedback. I would like to have retail partners, but right now it's so hard because our guns retail between, let's say 1,400 and 1,600. Well, to make sure that retail gets margin, then all that's got to go up a little bit. And for us to be able to afford to continue to do what we do, which is making a production custom gun. Volume helps all that, but then with volume comes more people, more overhead, more everything. So it's at the beginning, I like these demos. I like, I want to get guns in people's hands, that them shoot them, have people understand it. Every demo we've done, we've sold a gun. Every single demo sells a gun. So I know that when people feel it, they get it and they want one. Again, we've had people buy them, no problem, because we guarantee it and they get the concept, or they have a 2011. They have a gun like that. They know exactly what it's about. So initially, what we want to do is, start out and hit the slow lane, hit the middle lane, hit the fast lane, not go, boom, let's go to the fast lane, because I just don't want to screw people. I want to make sure that we do this properly so that we're making good guns and we don't chase volume and we push stuff out because people are screaming, where's my gun? And we're not making the gun we committed to. That's really important to me.
Right. Yeah. Is there any issues with California? Are the guns California compliant? Is that a? I know with the roster out there being a 1911, does that? Do you have any issues out there?
We won't even try, and here's why. Because the one big criteria is their micro stamp. And we could probably meet most of the other things, but the micro stamp stops everybody from going there right now. Till it gets through the court and it's found to be stupid, as most people would say, there's plenty of places we can put our money. Like I said, I've sent a gun to Maryland. I'm going to get our guns on the roster in Maryland. I'm going to start working on Massachusetts, get our guns in Massachusetts, because they're all 7+1 or 9+1 on the midsize. So, I mean, we're way under everybody's 10-round capacity. So, I mean, I'll work to get on those rosters, but there's so many guns. If you look at the guns that are sold in Texas, Oklahoma, Florida, North Carolina, South Carolina, and Georgia, just those states, and then you go to Pennsylvania, those states are crazy how many guns are sold. So, I mean, right now, I'd rather just stay regional, going all the way to California. It's a great state to have guns, but to fight that politics, I think we need to be bigger and have the resources to put time into it.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, you gotta walk before you run.
Totally.
Make sure you got your ducks in a row. And this is kind of a generic question, but how's the reception been so far? I mean, I know you've talked about very, very rarely you have somebody that doesn't really get it, that doesn't get what you're doing, but overall, how's the reception been?
So I think you get it. You were there in Pennsylvania, and just like there are people that buy $20,000 cars, and there are people that buy $60,000 cars, and there are people that buy $250,000 cars, and that's exactly the same way with gun buyers. There's a $500 to $700 buyer. They see no reason to spend more money than that. I can hit the target with that gun just as well as anybody else. And so we've had that. But those people that are in that, $1,000 to $2,000 that they're willing for what they can get, most people said to us, "You're doing all that for that price? That's a pretty good deal." And so the fact that we're a production custom gun, you spec out within our range of options, you spec it out, we're going to build it and ship it in 7 to 10 days is kind of crazy. That, I mean, really our problem is that if people really do take to that, it's like, okay, that's going to be a challenge. But we've set this up with all of our background. We set this up to be scalable. It's not a nonsense. Because if it gets to a certain point, I know I need another piece of machinery, I need another gunsmith, I need another finisher. It just works like that. And so what we can do is say, okay, we're doing so many guns a day, we're migrating. Okay, let's start to get this rolling. So in 2 months, we probably can make that transition to that next phase. So it's like you say, we want to walk before we run. And I love the fact that people are excited about what we're doing because there's really nobody else out there doing what we're doing. So we're in a little niche of our own within the 4 million handguns that are sold every year. We're in our lone little niche that for me, the crumbs that fall on the ground can make a nice business. We don't have to chase tens of thousands of guns. We make good guns, make sure everybody's happy. We're fine.
What's next for the company? What's next for you guys? Are you planning on ever doing anything other than 1911s? Why or why not?
Yeah, really good question. And I don't want to necessarily we haven't even gotten enough, 3.5-inch 1911s out there yet. But
right.
There's a lot of things. I mean, you look at where I've been. And I think there's niches in every one of those businesses. I think there's a niche in a really good shotgun made in the USA, a premium shotgun made in the USA. I think that there's still, we've got 3.5-inch, we've got 4 1/4, and we got 5-inch guns. If we can do those really well and our ability to engineer and design a different, more reliable 2011 that's not $4,000 or $3,000, that'd be kind of cool too. Made in the USA. I've been in the knife business, so out the fronts, there's some technology there that we could put into play that we've used here that we could put into an out the front knife that would just be awesome. And we could make that, doesn't have to be a $300 or $400 knife. It could be a, $200 knife that's just awesome. Mm-hmm. So, we have a lot of things that I think we can get. We've talked a lot about opportunities, but I think each one will fund the next one. So, first things first, we do really well at making a great 3.5-inch gun and having people have a ton of confidence in us.
Yeah, absolutely. And then I have one more, and then I've got a couple written from the chat. What's next for the guns? Are you planning on doing? I know you're doing 3.5-inch barrels and stuff like that. Is in the future here for Cosaint for the COS11? Are there longer barrels, red dot cuts? Competition guns, different calibers, staying on the 1911 platform, but are these any of those things that you're looking at?
Big time. So at the show this weekend, we had a 4 1/4 that looked awesome. I shot it last week. It was a blast to shoot. It shot so flat, so comfortable. It was really like a 22 the way it shot. And so that really encourages me to get to a 4 1/4. Because if somebody shoots it, they're just going to be like, oh, my gosh, this is like a dream. And so then that makes me think, oh, my gosh, a 5-inch, built like us, full frame, it would be a fantastic classic gun for competition, for the classic division. Single stack, it shoots like a double stack, but it meets their criteria for classic division. Oh, my God, I've already had 2 competitors say, I'll take that as soon as you can build it. So we've actually looked at, we're bringing in barrels right now for the 5-inch. We already have barrels coming for the 4 1/4. And so it's just a matter of us getting to making more parts for them. So we're going to migrate from the 3.5 and do that really well. And then, as you know, moving to 4 1/4 is not a big leap. It's just getting the slides down and getting the barrel done. But everything else is, we've already got the longer grip, the full size grip. And then going to the 5-inch is just us making a full frame, which I want to make a full frame, not the short frame and a long dust cover. So I think that all of those will be here in the spring, early spring. We'll have all of those as options. But the complexity, as soon as we move up, I can't tell you how many people, when we were in Pennsylvania, and then this weekend, who said, so when's your 10 millimeter coming out? And so,
right, yeah, that was one of the reasons I asked this, and it's come up in the chat a couple times. Is 10 millimeters had kind of a pop in popularity, a little bump in popularity, and that's one of the things that I know people are asking.
So I'm curious. So our 45 shoots awesome as a 3.5-inch. So when I move that up to a 4 1/4, I'm really excited to see how that recoil works with this design. If that's the way it works, then moving to a 10 would be fantastic, because now you have that recoil mitigation, and we get it to a 4 1/4, a 5-inch, and put it on a full frame. Holy criminy, that would be an awesome gun to shoot. And so when we move up, we're going to have to go to 10. We're going to have to go to 40 millimeter. 40 caliber. We've already gotten requests for a 38 super, and that definitely in a 4 1/4. We're going to go to a 38 super, and I know when we go to 5, it'll be a 38 super. So, that's the hard part. Making a 3.5, well, it's pretty much 9 and 45. As soon as we go up to a 4 1/4, now we jack it up to 10, 40. Now the calibers go nuts, which means the complexity of parts and everything starts to kind of, gets exponential. And so what I don't want to do is go there, and then all of a sudden we went from this many parts to this many parts because we just added a 4 1/4, and then we got to make all that. So got to keep all that in mind, because and all of a sudden then we can't deliver the 3.5 that we came to market with, because we're so busy making so many SKUs. Complexity is what can kill us. And so we're really going to have to look at that closely, but those are all awesome opportunities for us. There's no shortage of runway for us as long as, we can stay on track.
I actually have. It's not so much a question, but an offer out here. Sarah Albrecht is out in the chat. She's from an organization called HoldMyGuns.org. I don't know if you've know about them. She was at the show, so I said that she saw your guns, but I don't know if you talked to her at all. She says, if you ever want a tag team on a party and demo at one of our Hold My Guns nonprofit launches, let me know. So they're on Instagram. She's really good on Instagram. She's really fast. If you need to get a hold of her, that's a great way to do it. I know.
That'd be great.
They're also, they basically have a organization, a nonprofit that gives people the opportunity that might be dealing with depression or something like that in their life to have a safe place to take their guns, so that they're, to take that availability, to prevent suicide, basically. So
it's a great
organization. Really, really cool. And she's always hopping around social media somewhere. She's really super busy. So, holdmyguns.org is a great plug, but, and they're in Pennsylvania too, by the way. So if you come up here, next time you come up, try and get a hold of her for sure.
I'll absolutely do that.
Yeah. A couple of questions from the chat. I think you already answered some of them, but and I think I know the answer to some of them. G23's out there, and he's trying to push you to do a couple things. He says he's game for 2 guns, one for him and one for his wife, if you do them in 40. And is there a possibility of doing left-handed? Is that something that you're looking at in the future?
We have talked a lot about it. We've talked a lot about it because we're making a lot of our own parts. The idea was, if to engineer that would be a real challenge, but to do it would just catapult us. It would speak to what we do, not just source components and assemble a gun. It means we're a gun maker. And so we're seriously looking at it. Our gunsmith is left-handed. He's super excited about that project if we can get it going. And so what we're trying to do is nail down all the rest of the engineering we've got going and then put an engineer on that we have 2 contract engineers. They both work on different projects, but that's like its own special project. I am all in on doing that. I just got to find got to make sure that we sell enough guns of the other thing to foot the bill.
Sure. And what about doing any lowers without a grip safety? Was that something you got?
Another good. We definitely got that when we were in Pennsylvania, and we already talked about it all this week. And we're talking about designing one, printing it, and playing with it, seeing how it feels, and trying to make some adjustments, see how it works. But again, right now, Joel, our gunsmith, has actually pinned a couple of guns just because he said he doesn't like it. He doesn't like your grip safety. So he's been all about that. And when I suggested after the show, let's design one that's a full, grip safety all the way down to the mainspring housing. And especially the way ours goes in at the bottom and rotates up, our grip safety, our mainspring housing doesn't slide like a traditional grip safety or for a full grip safety and mainspring housing component, you'd put it at the bottom, rotate it up, and then pin it with the thumb safety. So, and then what he's got an idea of how to let the strut fall into place, no problem, So, yeah, we've already talked about it. It's just a matter of, again, we've got so many other things going. The thought was, let's not get off what we're doing. Let's get the rest of that stuff done, and then let's put that as the next item that we're going to develop.
Andrew Faulkner says he's wrong-handed and he volunteers to be the guinea pig. But if Faulkner gets a hold of one of your guns before I do, I'm going to be so mean to you on social media. So you better be. But think about that.
Yeah.
So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to open it up to the panel here. If you guys have questions, go ahead. And while you guys are talking a little bit, I'm actually going to pull up your website and screen share it. So, just so nobody will be on camera. It's just going to be your website. And I know some people have talked about the 80% kits. So I'm going to pull that up on your website. And they've also asked about pricing. And what I want to do is show the build your own gun kind of thing, and we can talk about that.
Okay.
But in the meantime, guys on the channel or on the chat panel, just introduce yourself. If you have a question, let Greg know who he's talking to, and people that are watching, what your name is, and a little quick about your channel. And in the meantime, I'll pull this up. So go ahead, guys. If you have any questions, or maybe I covered enough of them. Who knows?
Okay. Thank you.
All right, let's start with Glimtech.
I'm good right now. Thank you.
I have a question.
Uh-huh.
I'm Mike with Budget Guns and Gear Reviews. I was looking at your website and I saw the 80% build kit. What do you need to have in order to finish that?
So in that kit, and the reason I called it a kit, the kind of the 1911 frame plus kit, is that it's just not the frame and the grip. We actually add the grip safety, the mainspring housing, the ejector, because it's a single post ejector versus a double post. And we give you the screw for the front trigger guard, and we give you the bushings so you can mount the side panels. Those are everything, as you can see there. That's everything that's proprietary to us. Everything else, and we also in our frames, we machine in the plunger tube right into the frame, so you don't add that. It's not staked on. So we do. That's everything that's proprietary to us. Everything else is standard 1911.
Okay.
And so our
source whatever your favorite parts are and whatnot to put in it.
Exactly. And so the aluminum is $500, $500, and the steel is $550, $499, $549.99, something
All right, excellent. Thanks.
You're welcome.
Yeah, and as you look, just even under the I think am I muted? No, I'm not muted. Sorry. Even under this, you have some drop downs that give you the choice of traditional steel is $50 extra, aluminum, tactical steel. That has the rail section under it.
Rail.
Yeah, and then with the grips, you got round trigger guard, square trigger guard, grip length, officer length, full size length, and that's basically how to kind of go back. If you go under to the options here, the tri-top is really nice. I'll tell you what, like that tri-top versus the traditional round top slide is a really nice feature. That makes it look really modern. I like it a lot.
And we also add that chamfer at the bottom of the slide that nobody else really does. Mm-hmm. And it's just fantastic for a full grip. You just don't feel the slide at all.
Yeah. So traditional or round top slide, you've got the 9mm or 45 right now. The round or square trigger guard, which is really nice. The square is really, again, to me, like this one that we're looking at here with the tri-top and the square trigger guard really brings it into like a modern design of firearms visually versus like the old school rounded off everything. It's really, really pretty.
Oh, it looks cool.
Yeah, it's really nice.
Thank you.
And we'll go under build a gun here quick.
I got a question.
Yeah, go ahead, buddy.
No, I got a question.
Yep.
I mean, these pistols
Thank
look
you.
awesome, man. To say the least. But on the receiver, because I had a pair ordnance way back in the day, had a aluminum receiver, and I'm not a fan of aluminum receivers. And the reason I bring this up is the polymer receiver, which is obviously a proven product with STI, but is there any deterioration over the years of the receiver that after maybe 10,000 rounds that you can anticipate?
So no, we never had, again, all my years at STI and everything, we never had that fail. And if you think about it, okay, so energy and the transfer goes horizontally, and so you're picking up at the front of the trigger guard. There's a screw in there that's holding it together. Then there's a lug that goes from the grip up into the frame, which is new to both STI and our gun. The old guns didn't have that. And then instead of using a metal insert in the grip, we actually put like fingers inside the frame, and then the matching finger, kind of male female, in the grip and the frame, so that you're catching recoil all the way back. So there's nothing that really pulls it down. It's all pulling it back. And there's so much there that wasn't where the force, where it was going to fail. And aluminum, I would agree. I had a conversation with a guy in Pennsylvania who said, I shoot too much. This is never going to hold up. You're always going to be replacing it for me. And I go, no, I wouldn't. I would immediately, after the first time, put a steel frame in it. Because if you shoot that much, you should not have an aluminum frame. Aluminum frame is really a carry lightweight gun. That was the design of it. And what we do something a little different in that we hard coat anodize them before we Cerakote them. So we add some durability to that aluminum frame. But again, I would quiz everybody as they're buying it, how much you're going to shoot a year, because if you're going to shoot more than a few thousand rounds a year, this is not going to be a lifetime gun. And so it really, everybody has to kind of know what they're buying and what they're going to use it for. And again, it's 4 ounces. When you talk about the difference between aluminum and steel, it is actually the difference between our 2 frames is 4 ounces. So if that makes the difference in how you carry it, okay, then that's a decision that you make. But that's kind of what we want to do. If I took our competitors, they make a gun, and that's the only way you can buy that gun. It's aluminum frame, it's polymer grip, it's 4140 slide. That's it. Take it as we make it. And what we're trying to do is say, shooters all have their own preferences. So rather than them buy a stock gun and then make a bunch of changes once they get it, I would much rather have the conversation and make it exactly the way you want it within our range of, options.
Right on. Well, I see you got some VZ. It looks like you have VZ grips on those. If I'm not
exactly.
On top,
we use VZ grips. We use VZ grips, or we Stipler printed grips ourselves.
On the internal components, as far as the springs and detents, are you using house made or brand made from you guys, or are you using like a name brand?
So we use cylinder and slide pretty much across the board.
Oh, so
our slide stop, our thumb safety, our fire control system, our springs are by Wolf, but we just bought some IMSI springs that we're also putting in to test and play with because we think those might be a little bit better. The trigger is who was it? The extractor was
EGW.
Extractor was cylinder and slide as well. EGW. We have some of theirs, but we also have cylinder and slide extractors. Most of the time, cylinder and slide's out of extractors. I mean, it's crazy how many people buy it because they're constantly out of them. But we use pretty much name brand all the way across the board. I really like cylinder and slide because I just have a ton of confidence in them. Every one of their parts has a Rockwell hardness test to it, so that they've tested it. They're not using MIM parts. They're very reliable.
EGW or cylinder and slide are phenomenal reputation with Brownells for them to carry them to their line, and then EGW. Yeah. I've used them. The only thing about them is they come oversized, and you have to fit them rightfully so to make them fit right in the pistol. Right. But that's awesome stuff. I love the cuts you got on that gun on the right under the trigger guard. Those are pretty slick.
Great.
I love that skeletonized trigger too. That's really sharp.
Yeah, we used to use a solid one, but I think that skeletonized one is the winner. Pretty much across the board.
Yeah, it's really nice. Go ahead, Sarge.
Can I ask you a question?
Oh, sorry.
Yeah. Hey, this is Sarge, C4 Defense, one of your neighbors here in North Carolina. With the aluminum frame, I heard you just say, you answered kind of one of my questions. You said there's about 4 ounces difference. What feedback have you gotten with the aluminum frames as far as people that have bought them and carried them or just tested them versus, some other, I guess I'd say more modern carry guns? Have you gotten a lot of good feedback as far as are people carrying them, or do they feel like maybe they weigh too much, or what can you tell us about those?
Again, of the guns that we've sold, I just don't know that they're out there long enough. I think we need probably another 6 months to get really, really good feedback. The really interesting thing was I had a couple of guys where they said, I'm in, I just wanted to do a demo. And they said, really, I pretty much want the steel gun. And the way I set the demo up is I had my 1911, which is built with a full aluminum frame so that it's more comparable to what, our aluminum gun is. And then we also took a round top traditional steel framed gun with our polymer grip. And when he shot him, just 5 rounds in each gun, and he's just shooting plink. Everybody, when I do demos, everybody on that first round, they want to have nice groups when they shoot. So they all shoot, pretty much at a nice, easy pace. And the real test is then I reload all the mags with 5 more rounds, and then I challenge them to unload those mags as fast as they're comfortable. And it was so funny to watch those guys. When they were done, they all went to the aluminum gun, not the steel gun. And the steel gun, because of the weight, adds stability. So in theory, it should shoot better. But when they're shooting fast, that weight made a difference at how it shot, how they held it. And that was really interesting to me. And so, I think with the hard coat anodizing, because we really started that at the end of the year, beginning of the year. So we need a few more months to see really durability. And we've done this with early guns. We're totally sold on it, but it's not, we're one thing, our testing versus real, somebody carrying it. So I to answer your question, I think I need a couple more months to get real world over our testing.
Okay. That one he has a picture of right there is absolutely dead sexy with that rail on it. A nice small gun. The rail is fantastic.
Great. Thank you. So originally we did all round trigger guard, traditional, and I swear it is so funny because the 1911 buyer, there are 2 very distinct markets. It's that traditionalist with that round top, no front serrations, just real tight back serrations and round trigger guard, and they jump all over it. Like when we posted the 45 that we've got, it's got the most hits that we've done, since we've ever done anything. But at every show, when we put that gun you just commented on out, that gets all the comments. It's just crazy.
G23 out there had a question. He said, with that 80% kit, couldn't you put a 40 caliber slide on it? Or would the angle be wrong with the 40 caliber versus a 45? Or
no, you could, because if I understand it, the slide for the 40 caliber, the 9, the 38 are all the same. The only different slide is the 45. So you have to change out the barrel and you have to change out some springs. But in theory, that the same slide that works for the 40 and the 9, I believe all those dimensions are the same. But again,
Okay. Also, Kinky Sphincter out there, our buddy Kinky, is asking, have you ever thought about adding a suppressor ready model? So a threaded suppressor barrel.
Really, really good question. I would love to do that. That would definitely be a spring item because, again, I just did the paperwork for SOT, so I got to get that through and get it back to where we can start get some suppressors in here. But that's definitely on our list. Imagine that gun, with a threaded barrel. and an RMR cut or an optic on the back, that
Yeah.
would be that'd just be an awesome gun.
Yeah, that's what Jason was asking. How far are you away from an RMR cut? Because they're making some of the. There's more small ones out now, like the 507K and the Romeo that would fit nice and snug on that.
Great point. And again, coming out of Philadelphia, we'd had a few questions before that about an RMR cut and getting it ready. What we've trying to figure out is, do we partner with somebody like, say, take the Romeo or take, a couple of the most popular, make that cut and make that gun available, or do we get the cuts down to where, the top 10 are, RMR, you just tell us what you want and we'll make the cut for you, get all those specs in. Because if we can do it at the manufacturing level, then it's not that much more to do it. But we have to do that. And I think that we probably could do one where we can offer, if somebody wasn't like, I have to have this optic, do you have one that you put on? Yes, we recommend these two. We do the cut and we'll ship it as is, that was just kind of our debate internally. How do we service this? Because sky's the limit. Oh my gosh, when I started looking at it and the variety of cuts, and there are a couple people that make adapter plates, but for me, I'd want it to be what is the best way of doing it, not a kind of jury rigged way of doing it.
I'm on your Instagram now, and I love this color combination of this gun. Also, this desert tan with the grip panel reminds me of like a Diamondback rattlesnake. I think it's a really nice color combo.
And it got too much light. So if you really see the front of the slide, that's the more true color of it. And
Sure.
You're right. That slide matches that grip like it was made to be that way. It's that's Cerakote Flat Dark Earth in their Elite series.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
Hey, Midnight, can I get a question in real quick? I got to call it a night.
Oh, absolutely, man. Absolutely.
All right, real quick.
Yeah, just let everybody know who you are so you know where you're from.
Yeah, I'm the other Travis. So, Greg, this is Travis P11. Quick question for you. I love the build a gun option. I think it's really cool that you guys offer that. And I'm just saying, from like a marketing standpoint, would you guys ever be adding an option so that you can see what the gun's going to look like when you choose all those options? I know it's a lot.
That's
of
what I was going to ask.
And I guess the reason why I asked that is when my wife and I bought our last car last spring, we went to the vehicle website, chose the color we wanted, chose the interior we wanted, chose the wheels we wanted, and that was it. It was the done deal. It's like, oh, that's the car right there. It makes a very kind of powerful connection between the consumer and the manufacturer, I guess, or maybe the brand. Any option for that down the road?
It's a super idea. I'm just honestly, I just don't know how the technology works. And we talked about it internally to where maybe we can do is set up a photo session and make up it's maybe 16 to 20 different configurations that would be the lion's share of what we do. Because, whether it's 9 or 45, it's not going to make a difference. It's really round or square trigger guard, officer standard, or tri-top or not, and then boom, you have your different colors. Well, we have 3 different colors in stock, and we could make up those guns and then just swap them out. It doesn't even have to have the internals. We just swap them out, and we could set up that photo shoot, And our guys came up with that idea last week, and so we're seriously looking at that. It was like, I think, Thursday or Friday as I'm going to the show, I kind of figured out how to do the website like that, where we could do the build a gun. And as soon as I did it, it was like, oh my God, I've got to have pictures that match, because as soon as you do it,
I can imagine it. I can think about it, but to see it, it's like, oh man, that's my gun. Because you're already offering the build a gun option, which a lot of companies don't offer. And maybe you get more build a gun options when you go above $1,000 on the 1911. I don't know, because I've never stepped into that area. But offer, that would just be like that. Now I think it's going to seal the deal.
Yeah, I totally agree with you. I really want to figure out if there's a good technology for that, and it might be where I hire somebody who's really good on Photoshop, and they could take one of our guns and they can just change the colors within Photoshop.
Yeah.
And boom, we
drop it
get
on
it.
top
We
of the
can do
frame and
it.
you're
We can
done.
do it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly. We can do it all digitally. That would be crazy if we could. But I am absolutely looking at that because it would really help us, our whole concept of building somebody the gun they want and then us delivering it a week or two later. That'd just be crazy.
And lastly, my wife is a lefty. She's a southpaw. So the sooner you could get one of those models out there, the sooner we could go ahead and pick one up for her. So anyway.
Yeah. Yeah.
Hey, thanks a lot, man. I got to go and call it a night, but I appreciate you taking my question, buddy.
Okay.
Thanks, Travis. Thanks for
really
hanging out.
appreciate it.
No problem, man. Thanks a lot, guys. I'll finish up listening to this tomorrow. So thanks a lot, guys.
Oh yeah.
So, yeah.
Well, Greg's only got we only have him till midnight, so we're just about done. He's a productive person, not like most of the rest of us. So he's got to get up early and do his thing. But yeah, so we got a couple more minutes here.
All right.
I'm gonna stop screen sharing here and get back to what we're, so I can look at the chat again, see what's going on. Oops, boy, I almost hung up. I almost just dumped the whole chat out on us. It's been known to happen.
The first time.
Yeah. Oh, thanks, guys.
Good job, Travis. We don't want to repeat of last week.
Yeah.
And then we could talk. You jumped out.
Yeah, then you could actually make this show something special. So if anybody has anything else, anybody else from the panel have any questions here before we finish up and out in the chat too. I'm back to looking at the chat. So if anybody out there has a question, just tag me in it and we'll rattle them off.
Where's the next place you plan on going? What gun show, and where can people go look at your guns in person? What retailers are you working with?
Right now, we're working with Overwatch in Overwatch Defense in Hendersonville, right on Spartanburg Highway. But I'm actually the neat thing that we did when we were up in Philadelphia is when we were in Harrisburg, we got a bunch of people's names, emails. We're going to ping them this week because I got a lot of really good follow-up, and we may actually head back up there to do a demo because we've got about 20 to 30 people up there that all expressed an interest. I did get a lot this weekend, probably 5 to 8 that want to do a demo between Greenville and Hendersonville. And so I'm really trying to figure out what's the best use of our time. And so that's on our website. As soon as we nail something down, we're going to put it in our event section. We're going to post it as an event, and definitely on social media, we're going to let everybody know we're doing a demo. I was also thinking about putting something out on our social media, telling people we want to do events. Shoot me your zip code, so that all I do is get zip codes. If I get a zip code, and that's how I did it up for Pennsylvania, I was able to plot those, and I knew that I had 12 right around Harrisburg. Well, that makes an easy trip. Go to Harrisburg, right. I get 12 demos right there, and potentially it's twice that because they'll bring friends.
Mm-hmm.
So
yeah, exactly.
I would love to do it here. I would love to do it here because there's so many locals that want to see it and do it. Either at Rex's, the other place up in your areas, Sarge, is Mountain Range. Is just a beautiful range. I mean, so new, so modern, and there's a lot of people up there that have expressed an interest. So okay. I'm not really being specific because I think that's really our chore tomorrow is to ping a lot of people and start to narrow down where can we get the best use of our time.
Okay.
From the chat, G23 said, can you thank Greg again for his quick responses to his emails? G23 is the one, and I actually, for some reason, I got a response to his email to me too. I saw it the other day, but he just wanted to thank you for getting back to him and talking with him, quickly.
You bet. So G23, is that you out in Roseburg?
We'll see here. We'll see what he says. Also,
delay between the
there's going to be a delay. Roll call says, do they take aftermarket magazines like Wilson Combat?
Yeah.
And what type of mags come with these guns? So yeah, I know you talked about that earlier. That any mag should work well.
Definitely, and what we're putting in with the guns right now, we're either Checkmate or Metgar. But I'm testing other mags as we speak, and may make a switch to, to either chip or again if trips work out. So we definitely want to upgrade those if we can. We haven't had a lot of problems, but it's about consistency.
Mm-hmm. Oh yes, that's him. He said that's him up in wherever you said. Yeah.
Yeah. Roseburg, Oregon, the booming metropolis of Roseburg, Oregon. He'll get that.
Jason Stewart says, "Will 1911 or Colt Defender holsters fit?" I would imagine the Defender would fit, right?
Yeah, and that's one of the big reasons to do a round trigger guard. Round trigger guard. I mean, you can use any pretty much all all holsters on the market. The difficult part is with square trigger guard 1911s. They're very, very few unless you go to custom, and so most people understand that, or they have them already. That's why we offered it.
And I'm screen sharing again this black one, and I think this is a really neat idea. And one of the things I like, I commented on Instagram too, the all black with the red highlights. If you even if you'd add a couple more, like I think I said the trigger, the slide lock, and the hammer, have it all in like anodized red, would be really sharp. That black and red would look really, really hot together. So
yeah.
That was
Go ahead.
Okay. It's neat to have the option.
Those are Magpul grips. What happened was we had gotten our big grips and we're putting it on a gun, and all of a sudden we looked around and went, we have all compact, officer length grips around here. So I ran out to a sporting goods store, and that was the only thing they had in stock was a Magpul. So since then we bought some Aluma grips, and I've got some VZ grips coming in, but it was pretty funny.
And one of the things too that we didn't talk about, to talk about something a little bit different here that you guys are doing, is on this picture here that we're screen sharing. If you look, the second one up from the bottom on the left is the gun that does not take grip panels. The grip is what it is. It's stippled grip, but it doesn't take the panel. So you want to talk about that a little bit, just to show you guys are doing one more thing yet different.
Yeah, so we tested this because we can do this, and this is kind of going after what the other guys have done. And I love this because it has, if you saw a view from the back end of it, it's thin at the top where your finger has to hit the trigger and your thumb has to get to the mag catch. But as it comes down where your palm is outside the gun, is wrapped around the gun, we added palm swell. So it's not a palm swell that goes straight up to the top. It's flatter, and then it flares out at the bottom. And then it only has the two screws holding it at the top. It is just that was probably one of the best responses we got when we were at Harrisburg, because and then our gunsmith hand stipples everything to match the mainspring housing and the whole grip, and it's a vertical stippling. So when you grab it, there's just no getting away from it. There's no, it's, as some guy said, it feels just like skateboard tape, but it's not as aggressive. So we really like that. We're going to have those made in a compact size because we had such a good response to them.
Yeah, I got to play with the one with the stipple grip, and that is very comfortable in your hand. I think that was my favorite one of the ones that I got to play around with at Harrisburg.
Okay, good. So it all goes to that, making enough options to where it becomes totally your gun, And then we continue to work with people, And
that's what's so awesome about it is, if you're going to, if you have the ability to, get a gun that you want to customize, that's awesome. But to be able to customize it with you guys and to really pick and choose is just awesome. It's awesome to be able to deal directly with you guys and not aftermarket this and that. It's nice. Especially, and there's people out there that aren't comfortable doing that. There's people that aren't comfortable, changing things out themselves. So this gives you the option to not have to worry about that too.
Right.
Okay, so I do have a question then.
Oh, now he has a question.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
I got my question.
Okay.
From a marketing standpoint, other than what you have available on your website, do you have any printed material or a PDF that you could print off? Being that, I'm sorry, anyway, I'm Randy from Cosaint Arms out in Arizona. My customer base is primarily law enforcement and competition. And I know there's a bunch of people that are looking competition-wise for 1911 style. So I was just wondering if you had anything available that I could either download or get from you that I could put out there for these guys to take a look at.
Yeah, so I'm sitting here trying to turn my thing off so I can grab some stuff. We created a little postcard that was at the that we used at the Harrisburg show, and it has a beauty shot of the front with kind of some highlights of what we do, and then on the back, little paragraph about us, and then all of our contact info. That's really all we have right now. And if nothing else, I can follow up afterwards and send you the PDF of that, the front and back. But you make up a really good point. Before the show, we kind of wanted a trifold that would be a great handout. And we don't really have a catalog because, everything we make is pretty much a custom version, of what the customer wants. But we've got to come up with something exactly what you're asking for. There has to get somebody the ability to come talk to you. I want more information without saying, well, just go to their website. So I'll get you that. My email is, you can either do info@cosaintarms.com or gmooney, and it'll get to me. Either one will get to me. If you want to shoot me a note, I'll follow up with that PDF so you can see what it is, and then tell me if there's something else you want, and we probably can configure something for you.
Okay, yeah, I'll do that because we're kind of like out the sticks here, and computers are kind of an interesting thing for most people that we shoot with here. So, but
all right,
yeah, paperwork is definitely a much easier thing for them.
Well, and I'd love to go through and what you want, and then see if I can, like I say, if we can develop something for it. The guy who did that postcard for me is just a genius. I mean, he's just a really creative guy, and he's the one that's trying to help me figure out that trifold or something a little more extensive than a postcard.
Alrighty, well, yeah, sounds good. Like I said, if you want to, or maybe the guys can, because I'm kind of all tabbed out right now. If somebody can throw in the private chat the link to the site or something, I can go there and drop you a mail, drop you a message, and we can get that squared away.
Jason Stewart says, "Is there an Irish phrase for yeet cannon?"
For this gentleman, he spent some time with STI.
Hold on.
Go ahead, Ed.
Either one of you.
Real quick, I just had a question for this gentleman. He spent some time with STI. I imagine you're in Georgetown, Texas.
Correct.
Did you ever hit the Monumental Cafe?
Oh my gosh! Of course we did. Their fried chicken. Are you kidding me? Yep. Their shakes, their pies. That's just a fantastic place. And that Mexican restaurant that was attached to them, I forget what they called it, but oh my gosh, those two restaurants were I lived right down about 4 blocks from the square. And my wife worked in a little boutique down there, so we were always down there doing stuff.
Yeah, I'm in San Antonio, so I'm about an hour and a half away.
That's great.
Ape, you gonna go ahead, and then I think Night Strike too, and then we're gonna probably close it up.
Strike's having a seizure.
Yeah, Night Strike's freaking out down there. I don't know what's going on. So Ape, go ahead, and then Night Strike, and then we'll probably close up and let this guy get some sleep.
Okay, yeah, I'm fine, Ape. I'm just in Minnesota. I don't really do much for firearms, but I have been doing. I've been a CNC machinist for probably the last 13 years or so. So got kind of a couple different manufacturing and related questions for you. And
Okay.
realize that some stuff may be proprietary, but stuff like that. So trying to remember back to when this started. So Cosaint Arms is a division of a larger manufacturing or machining facility, or are you just kind of on your own, or
We're on our
kind of trying to
on our
figure,
own.
or we're like
Yeah.
on your own? Okay. Let's see. You guys just started. Have you gone through or looked at doing ISO 9001 compliance or anything like that? For
No, we haven't, and I'll tell you why I'm more of a prejudice on ISO 9000, because my experience with it was that it doesn't actually get you a better product. It just documents what you do, and a lot of times in a big corporation, that is really important because things get lost in the shuffle, the bureaucracy and everything else. So they need that structure. My experience, and again, at Benchmade, we weren't ISO 9000, and it was crazy how well we made things because we were a smaller, tighter group. But it's so expensive to be ISO certified, and we're not right now looking to be a government contractor. And most consumers, 99.9% of consumers buying a gun, whether it's ISO certified or not, doesn't make a difference to them. So I would hope that what we do is we put in the best processes to where I would lean more towards, I migrate more towards lean and continuous improvement on an ongoing basis, so that we always get better and that everybody's always thinking about a better way of doing it, not just the way we did it a month ago. There's always a migration towards doing things better. That, I think, philosophically is a track I'd rather take than necessarily documenting how we do things to the gnat's fanny.
And
yeah, we actually went to or had to do the aerospace compliance 2 years ago, and that's really been a bit more of a pain, but kind of get used to it.
No, that's super difficult. It's expensive and very, very difficult. Man, that's awesome that you're able to do it. But you have to. I mean, it's medical and aerospace, and there's certain industries you have to do it.
Well, anytime you start doing parts for Boeing, you kind of need to do that. Second question, you were talking about how you just got your lead snail. And so do you test fire each and every gun, or do you just put a magazine through it or a couple through it to make sure everything's kind of copacetic before you ship it out?
No, we function test everything, and it gets, I would say by the time a gun is getting ready to shoot, there might be 200 rounds through it. At STI, we did 2 mags. Functioned right. They came in, adjusted things, and it went to clean and pack. And for me, I want to guarantee it works functionally. Then we take it to the range, and we have a bore sighting laser that we try to get the sights as spot on as we can, but we still take it to the range and put it on a target, sight it in at between 12 and 15 yards, 10 and 15 yards, and verify point A and point of impact. And then we're ready to ship it.
Okay.
Very cool.
Looking at the 80% kit, it's kind of hard to tell from the angle, but what ramp cut do you use in the frame? Are you using a Nolan or a regular GI cut in it, or?
No, we're using a ramp, Baron. It's more of a Nolan. I believe, if I'm not mistaken, it's a Clark Para cut.
Okay, so it's the lug underneath the ramp is radius instead of being just a square cutoff.
Correct.
Okay. And last question, but seeing out in the chat, yes, a lot of people are really excited for you to start doing your officer's model with a threaded barrel and a red dot, which is no small feat. Well, historically, officer's model 1911s have always been a little wiggity because you're taking something that's supposed to have so much mass and you have to make up for it in spring pressure, so it's got to operate a lot faster to get everything kind of moving in. But yeah, that's it's real.
I would love to see that gun. Oh my gosh, that would just, especially with our tri-top, that would just be a great gun.
Mm-hmm.
And
it would be
even
amazing.
with an optic on it, we wouldn't be over 1,700, maybe 1,750, depending on the optic. If the most expensive, it'd be probably 1,800. Well, that would be awesome, you know. And all of that upcharge is the optic, and I'm kind of using all retails there. If we could get a deal with them, then it'd definitely be cheaper, you know.
Yep.
Sure.
And not really a question per se, but place I kind of like plug for every once in a while. Since you're doing kind of a lower production, and if you're ever wanting to do like a kind of a super fancy or really like high grade model, company I just put in the side chat there, AAO Customs. They do composite resin and wood grips. They're actually local to my area.
Can you give me the name again?
It is
AAO Customs. AAO Customs.
Yep, they do kind of like small batches. And last time I talked to them, I think they actually had just finished up or were getting started to do a run for a it was either Lipsy's or Davidson exclusive for Colt. So,
oh wow!
Yeah, kind of like to try and give local business, kind of try and get like small businesses to kind of, as much as I hate to use the word synergy, kind of thing of.
I'll check them out. I'll definitely check them out. That's great.
And then let's Night Strike. You want to throw a question out there, and then we're going to call it a night.
Yeah. I got a question. Just
go ahead, buddy.
Off of their some of their parts, but yeah, I'm Night Strike. I'm Mike Savino, the CEO of GunTube. I run this stuff so that people can use it. Yeah, I had a question for you based on your 80% kit. In the future, are you looking at possibly, selling the slide for the 80% kit as well, and maybe some of the other internal parts like that skeletonized trigger? Because I don't know where to find that skeletonized trigger. That one really looks nice.
Yeah, that's a nice trigger.
Great question. As a matter of fact, at the Greenville show, I sold a kit to a guy, one of the other vendors, and I said, so, what are you going to do? And he goes, I don't know. I've never done one of these. I got to find the parts. And I said, well, I have a parts list. You want me to see what I can bring down here Sunday? He goes, okay, you bring me a list. I'll buy everything you can deliver to me. So the only thing I think he didn't buy from us were some springs, because I want him to pick his own springs. And he didn't buy the slide because he couldn't decide whether he wanted a round top or a tri-top. And I wasn't even sure. So I think that, yes, I think that down the road, I think we're going to put all those parts up as if you bought, if you wanted parts from us, we're going to slowly add them to our website as we know we have them and can deliver them. Because it makes a ton of sense. Rather than you shopping either Brownells or Midway or going into the big wide world internet to get all the parts. I think all we did is we get, dealer or wholesale price from everybody. So we just put the retail on them. And then we took some of them and dropped down the price because it wasn't that important to us.
Right. If I could get like the tri-top slide and the 80% kit right now, then I'd buy one,
Okay. All right.
But right now, you just have the 80% kit listed, so I'd have to source a slide. And I think that it would be advantageous for you to have slides listed.
Super idea, and I didn't even think of that. And and that's why we're making our own slides, to be honest.
Right.
I found a guy who could make me frames. I'm here in North Carolina, and he was very affordable. And almost everything I found I could have made. It just took too long, and I tied up too much money. So that's why I bought the machine. The big thing was you can't get guys to get your slides, and slides are $300 when you go to buy them, and there's nothing to them. So I thought, oh my God, we got to figure out how to do this slide, because I don't want to pay $300 for a slide, then put another $100 in more work into it.
Absolutely.
So I think we could make them, and we could sell them for between $200 and $300, depending on the done, finished. Yeah. So I'll definitely look into that. That's a great suggestion.
Mm-hmm. Ape, you got something real quick?
One last question that Night Strike actually jogged my memory. I was going to ask. So for your frames and slides, are these forgings or are they investment cast pieces?
They're all milled from billet. We buy bar stock and cut it, and then put it on the mill as stock. Bar stock.
Great.
Cool.
So, all right. So I got one more question. This is a tough one. This could be a make it or break it for the company too. So you just roll up your sleeves here on this one. This is important, and I don't want to understate it, but is a hot dog a sandwich?
This is more important than you know. That's it. I'm out.
And that's
because you just said a hot dog. You didn't say anything else. You just said a hot dog. Hot dog by itself is not a sandwich.
A hot dog in a bun. A hot dog in a bun.
Okay, you didn't say that. A hot dog in a bun would be a sandwich.
Okay,
No.
See, there we go. not the actual hot dog itself, but the hot dog in the bun.
Right,
right,
that's
I guess-
a sandwich.
All right,
We
I
have
guess
to go
I
with
can.
specifics here.
I guess I could
That's a
support the
sandwich.
company.
That's why
Mhm.
it's affordable.
I
The
give
bar's
this.
not that high.
I give this company my stamp of approval. There you go. All right. So one thing I think.
Go ahead.
One quick thing too is we didn't mention is the term COS11 is something that you guys like to use in your social media. Just so if you guys post anything about to viewers or whoever, COS11 is what they're using as their promotional term, I guess you'd want to say for their firearms. So
It's a-
COS11.
It's a model. It's
Right.
a model. 'Cause if you say 1911, it's not a 1911. It's a 1911 platform, but
Mhm.
our COS11 is different than a 1911
Right.
because
Okay.
of the modular group.
Two Live Moo is out there and he's looking to get banned. He says a hot dog is not a sandwich. Well, it's been nice knowing you, Moo, and I hope you have a nice life.
I will kill your face.
That is
Whoa.
So, Greg, I really want to thank you for coming on, giving us the time, and we ran a little bit
Oh my
long.
gosh.
I was really trying to keep it to midnight, but we had so many questions. We had so many questions, and I think it was great. I'd like to tell you, you did you do a great interview. I will say this went wonderfully. It went smoothly. Very happy with how it went. I think we got a ton of information out there, and I'd like to think that we sold you some guns. And
So
one thing too is normally these chats run till whoever knows, and it turns into a mess at the end. I'm actually going to cut this one off now, so that way there's no weird language and no weird topics and anything like that. No monkey shines, and that way
It's actually a smart move.
yeah, I want this to be a really good representation of your company, and if you want to use this, obviously, if you want to put links to this or you want to use any part of this for your company, I'd be honored for you guys to have that. So I want to keep it PG and keep it family friendly. I hope you could use it. I hope the interview here does you guys well. So.
Travis, I can't thank you enough, man. All you guys, thank you very much. Great conversation. A lot of good input. I really appreciate it. And I hope you all stay in touch with me.
Yeah, I'd love to. So, one of the things, Ape just reminded me too. One of the things is Ape is my Fine Ape is kind of my hype man. He has been for the last year and a half or 2 years of the show here since we've been going. So at the end of the show, we always hand it over to him. He gives us a little outro and we say goodbye. So Ape, or unless there's anything you need to add, if there's anything you need to add.
No,
Thanks,
I'm
Greg.
good. Just more
Really
than thank you
appreciate
for everything you got in. Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. It's
Thank
been
you.
it's been a pleasure to deal with you, and I hope you
Thank
come
you.
on the show again. And if you ever if you're ever up and you can't sleep on a Sunday night, come and join us and be part of the fun. We have a good time. We have a good time here. So
Okay,
Ape,
good.
Just beware.
let her
Be afraid. Be very afraid.
He knows. And I'll tell you what. When I started talking to Greg, and I told him what I did, I said I have a channel. It's small, and we have a good time, and it's we do food and firearms and Second Amendment and news. And I asked him if he'd want to be on the show. And Greg, this is the truth. His daughter ran back to the laptop to look up my channel to make sure that we weren't a bunch of psychos that are talking all sorts of crazy nonsense. She's like, I just want to make sure that who we're dealing with. I said, no, that's great. This is your business, and you have a right to vet me. So I'm glad that they felt us worthy of being on the show. That makes me feel good. So.
I'm actually
We're very
surprised
glad
that
to meet
the
you.
vetting process.
She found a fake page then, so we're good.
I had to
That's the page I run for him.
yeah.
I had to laugh in throat when I walked up to your booth there at the outdoor show. I had to laugh when I introduced myself to I spoke to your wife, and I told her about how Travis had sent me, and she just got all excited, like Travis was one of her long lost friends or something. It was funny. You were talking with somebody else at the time, so I don't know if you caught that. But yeah, when I told her that Travis sent me over to check you guys out, she just got super excited because he's got the message out about you guys to other people. So
Yeah, it was really good. We just had a great time, and it was fantastic meeting Travis, and made a nice trip for us.
Yeah, we're glad to have you. So, Ape, why don't you cut us loose here, and we'll all part ways, and hopefully in the future we can get back together sometime. Okay, go ahead, buddy.
Well, first I'd like to say thank you, Midnight, for officially upgrading me to being your Ed McMahon, not just your monkey you keep under the table. And I'd also like to say to you wonderful people out there, I mean, with a hype man this enthusiastic, the show has to be good, but shameless self-promotions aside, ladies, gentlemen, and Jonases of all ages, thank you for watching Midnight Range TM's The Closer. This concludes our regularly scheduled programming, but keep an ear out for Black Cat Outdoors, random beer chats, so the Gun Channel's community Monday night programming. At 5 p.m. Eastern, it's Hasty Headlines with Never Enough Ammo. Get your fill of news, commentary, and other strange rants. At 7 p.m. Eastern, it's the Polite Society podcast on Facebook and Travis P11, King Travi himself, Caliber Corner on YouTube. At 8 p.m. Eastern, it's Clover Tax MOA Monday only on Instagram and Hawaii Volcano Squad's Locked and Loaded on YouTube. At 9 p.m. Eastern, it's Never Enough Ammo, aka Mr. Matt's Guns and Geeks podcast, The Week in Geek. At 10 p.m. Eastern, on whatever day they feel like doing it, it's intentionally left blank, and every weeknight at midnight Eastern, it's the Daily Gun Show. Also, check out guntube.org as a free and unrestricted Pro2A video platform. If you like what you see, go over to Patreon and give Night Strike. I mean, just look at him. Look at his face. For less than a cup of coffee a day, you can keep this wonderful, bearded, slightly vampiric 1911 person and his platform free from the tyranny that is censorship. Or not.
Let's keep that away. Let's keep out of the vampiric 1911 thing. I don't want to talk about that story. Otherwise, he won't talk to me anymore. I want him to talk to me still.
His
If
his
you're
1911 bit him one time, and he needed stitches. You didn't hear that from me though.
Or cool and unique two-way swag like this wonderful patch panel you see over here, or if you are really into Kalashnikov cards or firearms inventors, go over to gearwebsites.com. Once again, for cool and unique two-way swag, go over to gearwebsites.com. And remember, a hot dog is a sandwich, a Slim Jim is candy, and keep your guns oiled and your chambers loaded.
Thanks a lot, guys. I had a fantastic time, and I think we learned a lot. And thanks for coming. I'll see you next time. How do you stop this thing? How do you stop this crazy ride? See you later,
Bye,
buddy.
everyone.
Big red button that says eject.
Shout out